This is my parents' TV setup. Nothing special, just a IKEA TV stand and literally a cable running across the floor that gives them cable. This month is also my mom's birthday. So in lieu of a $20 gift that I usually give her, I'm gonna build her something a little better. So I started out by putting down some cardboard floor protector, and then using a multi-tool, I took away the trim where I'm gonna be building the fireplace. Then with the breaker flipped off, I started looking into the electrical. I'm gonna be adding in a couple pot lights, so I'm gonna have to reroute this all through the wall. But first, let's get this framed up. So I was going to frame this on the ground and it would be a lot easier, but I wasn't fully sure on the final design yet, so I wanted to kind of piece it in and visualize it as I went. And as my first afternoon of work wound down, I had the frame about 75% complete and I could do a dry fit on the fireplace. And in the morning, I decided to start tackling that electrical. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on this because it's kind of different for every project, but basically what I did is I took out one of the existing receptacles and split that line, one that goes to a receptacle up near where the TV is going to be, and the other that goes to a switch and then into our new pot lights. Also, if you've never used these thin LED pot lights before, they're really simple. You just click the wires into place, tuck the box up in the ceiling, and then the pot light's spring loaded and it'll suck itself right up into the ceiling. So next I'm just using some 1/2-inch maple plywood to make up a couple trim boxes for where the fireplace will be and also where the satellite box will fit. So this is a flush trim bit for a router, and using this I can cut out the inserts where the fireplace and satellite box is going to be without having to measure that out before installing the OSB. Basically, the little bearing at the end of the bit rolls along the 2x4 framing and then gives you a perfectly flush cut from the plywood to the frame. Then I installed the TV mount, and I probably checked this 4 or 5 times to make sure it was perfectly level, and then did a test fit with the actual TV to make sure everything was sitting perfect. Now I'm going to make up a barn beam, and I was just going to use cheap rough cut pine for this, but apparently cheap rough cut pine is no longer cheap with lumber prices nowadays, because it was going to cost me about $100 to make it out of pine, and I could make it out of this walnut for about $140, so that was a no-brainer. So basically I just cut my pieces on 45-degree angles and glued them together and then clamped them overnight. And then the next day I could add on some end caps. And a couple pieces in the middle for structural support. Then I used some silicone to close off a knot hole. And then I'm going to fill this knot with some black 2-part epoxy. And the next day I'm ready to do my final sanding and finishing. One little trick I use a lot is this black CA glue that you can spray with an activator, and then it's ready to sand in 20 seconds. So this is great for filling in little imperfections that you can quickly fix during the sanding process. And I'm super happy with the way this turned out, so let's move on to finishing. The finish I'm using is called Rubio Monocoat. It's a really easy to use and super professional looking finish. And basically all you do is just wipe it onto the wood with a wipe pad. And then come back 5 minutes later and wipe off as much as you possibly can. It's pretty foolproof and leaves an amazing finish every time that's really durable. Basically, as long as you've sanded everything properly, this finish is going to look amazing, especially on walnut. And I should note I only sanded up to 120 grit on this beam. And then I'm just using these galvanized house straps to mount the beam onto the wall. And this is a tile saw I picked up from Canadian Tire. This one was about double the price of a little tabletop unit, but I needed to cut 45-degree angles, so still the $250 is not bad for a brand new tool. And it cut these stone tiles like butter. And to mount the tiles, I just used a few beads of this construction adhesive. So I was feeling pretty loopy this day, and a quick error of judgment, and this happened. So it turned out I actually have COVID here, which is why I felt so bad. So I took a week off and then came back, and now I have a couple dings I'm gonna have to repair, but those are gonna have to wait until after the reveal because I'm already behind schedule and the push to make this birthday deadline is gonna be a tight one. And to fill all the tiny gaps left behind, I'm just using this ceramic caulk that's sanded, meaning that it feels like stone once it's hardened. So I can just run a bead along a gap and then force it in with my finger and then take off any excess with a damp paper towel. And after spending an hour or two doing that, everything looks pretty much perfect and I'm ready to install the TV and wrap this present up.
Know what it is?
Well, this actually surprised me.
Happy birthday, Mom, and thanks to everybody else for watching this video. If you haven't already, check out my channel. I have a whole bunch of other build videos like this coffee table that has a real flowing river waterfall in it.